Have you ever felt the weight of 1,000 miles pressing down on your heart? The ache of an empty space beside you that someone is supposed to fill? If you've ever loved someone who is just out of reach, then you know the unique blend of hope and heartache that defines a long-distance relationship. Today, I want to share a story with you. A story about two people, Leo and Clara, separated not by a lack of love, but by an ocean of distance. It's a story about late-night calls that stretch into the early morning, about the pixelated smiles on a video chat that have to be enough, and about the quiet strength it takes to keep a flame alive when your worlds apart. Their story began, as many do, in a place they both called home. A small, sun-drenched town where everyone knew everyone. Leo was a dreamer, his head always in the clouds, sketching constellations in his notebook. Clara was a realist, her feet firmly on the ground, with a laugh that could make flowers bloom. They were opposites who found their perfect balance in each other. Their summer together was a whirlwind of stolen glances, shared ice creams, and promises whispered under a canopy of stars. It felt infinite, like it would never end. But summers, by their very nature, do end. Clara had a scholarship, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to study art in a city across the ocean. And Leo, with a heavy heart but a supportive smile, was chasing his own dream of becoming an astronomer at a university on the opposite coast. They stood at the airport, the bustling noise fading into a dull hum. It wasn't a goodbye, they promised each other. It was a see you later. They held on tight, trying to memorize the feeling of being in each other's arms, a memory they would have to rely on for a long, long time. The first few weeks were a blur of new faces, new routines, and an annoying sense of emptiness. The time difference was a cruel thief, stealing moments they could have shared. When Leo was waking up to his first lecture, Clara was winding down her day in the studio, her hands covered in clay and paint. Their relationship transformed. It became a collection of digital moments. Good morning texts that arrived in the middle of the night. Voice notes filled with the sounds of their new lives. The chatter of a university library for him, the distant chime of church bells for her. They became experts at scheduling, carving out precious hours for video calls that were both a lifeline and a painful reminder of the screen that separated them. They'd watch movies together, pressing play at the exact same second, and narrate the scenes to each other over the phone. They'd have dinner dates, each with their own meal, pretending they were sitting across a table, not across a continent. They learned to communicate in a way they never had to before. They couldn't rely on a comforting touch or a simple glance to convey what they were feeling. They had to use their words. They described their days in vivid detail, shared their fears, their triumphs, their frustrations. Every conversation was intentional. Every "I love you" carried the weight of the miles between them. But let's be honest, it wasn't easy. There were days when the loneliness was a physical ache. Days when a fuzzy connection or a missed call felt like a personal failure. Clara would walk through the romantic streets of her new city, seeing couples holding hands, and her heart would clench. Leo would see his friends making spontaneous plans, and he'd feel a pang of jealousy for the simple things he couldn't have. Doubts began to creep in, quiet whispers in the lonely hours of the night. Is this worth it? Can we really do this? What if we're just holding each other back? The digital world that connected them also exposed them to the lives they were living apart. A photo with new friends could spark a flicker of insecurity. A missed message could be misinterpreted as indifference. They had their first real fight over a video call, the lag in the connection mirroring the growing disconnect they felt. The words were sharp, born from frustration and fear. When the call ended abruptly, the silence was deafening, amplified by the thousands of miles of quiet between them. For a few days, that silence stretched on. It was a terrifying void. Both Leo and Clara were forced to confront the reality of their situation. Was their love strong enough to weather this storm? Was a digital connection enough to sustain a real, breathing relationship? It was Clara who broke the silence. She sent Leo a single image, a sketch of two hands, separated but reaching for each other across a vast expanse of stars. Beneath it, she wrote, "This is hard, but you're worth the hard." That simple message was everything. It acknowledged the pain but reaffirmed the promise. Leo called her instantly. There were no accusations, no anger, just tears and vulnerability. They talked for hours, not about the fight, but about their fears. They admitted that they were lonely, that they were scared, and that sometimes they felt like giving up. And in that shared honesty, they found their strength again. They realized their love wasn't about being in the same place. It was about being on the same page, even when they were in different books. They decided to change their approach. Instead of just trying to replicate a normal relationship online, they embraced the uniqueness of their situation. They started a shared digital journal, a space to post photos, write letters, and leave silly notes for each other to find. Leo, the astronomer, named a star for her, a tiny distant pinprick of light that he could look at and feel closer to her. Clara, the artist, started a series of paintings titled Miles, each one capturing an emotion of their long-distance journey. The blue of loneliness, the yellow of a happy video call, the fiery red of a moment of passion. They sent care packages filled with things that smelled like them. A favorite sweater, a bottle of shampoo, a bag of local coffee. These tangible items were anchors in a sea of digital ephemera. They grounded their love in the real world, reminding them that on the other side of the screen was a real person, with a real life, who loved them. The distance didn't shrink, but their love grew to fill the space. Years passed, 4 of them, to be exact. 4 years of good morning texts and good night calls. 4 years of birthdays celebrated through a screen and holidays spent with an empty chair at the table. They watched each other grow and change through a webcam. Leo's hair got longer, and he grew more confident in his knowledge of the cosmos. Clara's art evolved, her style becoming bolder and more expressive. They navigated academic stress, family issues, and personal crises, all while being each other's primary support system from afar. They became masters of emotional intimacy, their connection forged in the crucible of distance. They knew each other's souls, not just their habits. Finally, the day they had been dreaming of for 1,460 days arrived. Graduation. Leo booked a flight. It was a one-way ticket. He stood at the same airport where they had said their "see you later," but this time he was on the arrivals side. He scanned the crowd, his heart pounding a rhythm against his ribs that was a mix of terror and elation, and then he saw her. She looked different, yet exactly the same. Her hair was shorter, but her smile was just as radiant. She saw him, and the world seemed to slow down. They didn't run. They walked towards each other, slowly, deliberately, savoring every step that closed the final gap between them. When they were finally face to face, there were no words. There was no need for them. Leo reached out and cupped her face, his thumb gently tracing her cheek. It was real. She was real. They weren't pixels on a screen. And in that first, long-awaited embrace, the weight of 1,000 miles and 4 years of waiting simply melted away. It was no longer a "see you later," it was a welcome home. Their story isn't a fairy tale. It's a testament to the fact that love isn't about proximity. It's about connection, effort, and unwavering belief in each other. It's about choosing someone every single day, even when they're not there to choose you back in person. It's for everyone who has ever stared at a phone, waiting for a call. For anyone who has ever hugged a pillow, pretending it was them. For all the hearts that are holding on across the miles, remember Leo and Clara. The distance is just a test to see how far love can travel. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me and for listening to their story. If it resonated with you, or if you have your own story of love across the distance, I'd be honored to read about it in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that explore the beautiful, complicated, and powerful connections that bind us together. Until next time, take care and hold your loved ones close, whether they're next to you or a world away.